Hi there. In this video, we'll discuss Congruent Standard 4 from the Common Core Standards for Geometry. The standard here is to develop definitions of the basic transformations that you see here, and to do it in terms of these items. This video will focus on translations specifically. Let's go ahead and have a look at some examples of translations. Here we see a horizontal translation in which each point was translated 5 units to the right. This time we have a vertical translation in which each point was translated 3 units up. Here we have a diagonal translation, one way of describing the path followed by each point is we could say it shifted 2 units up and 4 units to the right. And if we actually did those two motions in succession, that would produce the same effect as moving it along this diagonal line. So, having seen some examples of translations, let's begin to try to describe them and figure out what makes them tick. The key thing here is to notice relationships among these 4 segments. Well, one thing to observe is that it appears if we were to measure the distance from A to A prime and from B to B prime, C to C prime, D to D prime, it looks to be the case that all 4 segments have the same length. And if you know the Pythagorean theorem, there's actually an easy way to understand that. If each point is indeed going 2 units up and 4 units over, Pythagorean theorem would tell you that the hypotenuse of each triangle must be the same. If you don't know that theorem, it looks believable that they do have the same length. And that's one of the essential properties of a translation. In other words, each point gets translated along the same distance. Okay, so we've talked about distance. Let's talk about direction. If you look at the lines that contain each of these 4 segments, evidently those lines are parallel. In other words, this line is parallel to this line, is parallel to this line, is parallel to this line. So these are 2 fundamentally important things to know about a translation. Number 1, you'll produce congruent segments. They all have the same length. And number 2, the lines along which the points are moving are pointing in the same direction. In other words, they're parallel. Okay, so to summarize, when we're describing translations, we've done it in terms of these 2 things here. The line segments produced are all congruent, so we know something about distance, and the lines along which those segments lie are all parallel to one another, so we know something about direction as well. Hope that helps your understanding of Congruent Standard 4 as it relates to translations. Thanks for watching.